Hi everyone, my name is Aisling and I'm a final year psychology student in the University of Limerick, and I hope to give you an insight into one of the most widely talked about topics in psychology: depression. Depression is estimated to affect 350 million people worldwide. In Ireland alone, there are currently 300,000 people suffering from depression, with women twice as likely as men to be diagnosed. Depression is gripping the nation, so it is vital to understand exactly what it is, how it develops, and the way in which it affects people. So, what is depression? Depression is a severe mood disorder that negatively affects how you feel, think, and act. It interferes with daily functioning by negatively influencing one's ability to work, play, or love. Mental disorders like depression are a lot harder to understand than our usual health concerns, like a broken bone. It's easy to know who looks damaged. The great difficulty lies in knowing who may look fine, but actually is not. It is also important to differentiate between feeling depressed and actually having clinical depression. Feeling depressed, with a little d, comes with adverse conditions like losing a job or the death of a loved one, but after time that feeling of sadness subsides. Clinical depression, with a big D, is different. It is a medical disorder and it won't go away just because you want it to. Depression has a myriad of symptoms. Psychological symptoms include lack of concentration, feeling excessively guilty, and constantly feeling low or down in the dumps. Physical symptoms include change in appetite and a disturbance in sleep patterns. Finally, depression affects people socially too. Symptoms include loss of interest in things normally enjoyed and difficulties in home and family life, as well as relationships. The ways in which depression can manifest are numerous. However, today I am going to focus on the cognitive approach, as it has been the field's leading perspective from its birth in the 60s to the present day. This approach focuses on the power of thought and how it contributes to the development of depression. The famous quote from Shakespeare sums this up appropriately: "There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so." Aaron Beck has provided the most comprehensive explanation of the cognitive view of depression to date. He contends that people whose early experiences are characterised by negativity are predisposed to possessing underlying beliefs about themselves that are pessimistic. This is otherwise known as a negative self-schema. The sole presence of a negative self-schema, however, is too little for the occurrence of depression to take place. Something has to activate the schema to get the ball rolling. Beck's theory prioritises some kind of stressful life event that resembles the circumstances under which the schema developed as the primary source of activation. And before you know it, the ball is in the back of the net and depression is 1-0 up. Put simply, negative beliefs about oneself as a reaction to the death of a close relative in childhood may be activated by any kind of loss in adulthood. This gives rise to negative cognitions and corresponding patterns of information processing that result in symptoms of depression. This failure to process information correctly is a hallmark of the depressed mind. People are more likely to pay attention to things that fit into their schema. Depressed people tend to magnify the importance placed on negative events and minimise the importance of positive events. The cyclical nature of depression is best illustrated as the cognitive triad described by Beck, whereby negative thoughts in relation to the self perpetuate a negative view of the world, which further progresses a negative outlook of the future. Empirical evidence for this schema activation hypothesis has generated support. Beck's theory assumes that in the absence of activation, persons with and without depressive schemas will appear similar on measures of maladaptive cognitions and information processing. However, under conditions of activation, this changes, whereby vulnerable persons should evidence maladaptive cognitions and information processing, while non-vulnerable persons should not. According to Scher, Ingram and Segal, following a negative mood induction, recovered depressed people have been shown to evaluate themselves more negatively, possess more dysfunctional attitudes, and pay more attention to negative stimuli, in contrast to people who did not have a history of depression. Because of the substantial evidence backing Beck's theory, his insights translated into the treatment known as cognitive behavioural therapy. The persistent dysfunctional beliefs and the maladaptive information processing strategies that allow them to manifest are the focus of cognitive behavioural therapy. Its aim is to face and correct such thought patterns in order to reduce distress and restore everyday functioning. In this way, CBT breaks into the depressive cycle. Studies have revealed that CBT is very successful in preventing depressive relapse. As a result, CBT is more cost-effective in the long run compared to other treatments with higher relapse rates. And so shedding light on its efficacy in treating such a prevalent disorder like depression is important in order to highlight the need for funding research and training in this area. Talking about depression can erode stigma, making it easier for people to ask for help. It need not be the big black dog in the room anymore.
Created using Powtoon.